Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? It's Tuesday, right? Tuesday, the 18th of April. I'm Sam. This is United People's TV. You know what the drill is here. And today is going to be, I would say, quite an important show. We know I've been saying it all season. Doesn't really matter how many trophies Man United win this year. Doesn't matter how many games we win and all the progress made. The single most important thing is the sale of Manchester United. Ever since the Glazers announced back in November that they were, exploring strategic alternatives, I think was their turn of phrase. Since then, we've gone through ups and downs, and Sheikh Jassim coming in with his first bid, and Jim Ratcliffe saying he wanted to buy the club, and it going to a second round of bids, and that second round being delayed, and then all of a sudden it's now a third round of bids. And now, after reports yesterday from Mark Ogden and ESPN that the Glazers are confident of finding investment so they can stay on as owners, the value of Manchester United tanked in the market yesterday. Absolutely crashed. I think it fell like 13, somewhere between like 13, 15%. I'm going to speak through and discuss the concept of minority takeover of Manchester United, because it just isn't feasible. It really isn't from a business perspective. And we'll discuss it this morning as a community, as we always do. Who's down here? Let's have a look. And good morning to you. Good morning to Kieran. We've got Stephen Berry. We've got Gungshi. We've got Rego. We've got Fred T. We've got Richard. We've got, who's on Facebook? Let's have a look. John Neal, you're there as well. Pete Hibbard. We've got Perry Neal. Here's that watching from Wales. Good morning to you. David Carroll. Morning to you. Andy Ashton. Plenty of you down here this morning. 1 second, please. There we go. That's better. Right. Let's speak about this, because this is something that terrifies United fans. Absolutely terrifies United fans. And the thing I would say here is all of this strikes me as posturing. All of this strikes me as tactics from the Glazers to try and gain some sort of control back over the bidding. Because we know full well, if Sheikh Jassim or Jim Ratcliffe had offered $6 billion for Manchester United, already at this point, we'd already be sold. The only reason all of this is happening is because they haven't received the bids that they want to receive. And this is a very high stakes game of public poker. Now, let's run through this story as it. Oh, actually, by the way, let me quickly say here before I forget, got a seriously cool giveaway to do today. Giveaway competition. I call it a competition, this one. Let me get this here. We've got 130 likes on the video on YouTube. As soon as we hit, let's call it 400. That seems reasonable. As soon as we hit 400, I'll announce what it is. So if you can, just drop a like on the video, because trust me, this is a good one. This really is a good one. Let's run through this together now, right? Now, at the weekend, you saw this, didn't you? Out of nowhere, Carlyle. It's another like US investment firm, like Elliott Group Management. I think they've got assets in the region of $350 to $400 billion that they're in control of. It would just be another company that would come in, look, exactly like Elliott Group Management, a minority offer. And this came out after the news of the third round of bids. And it struck me, and I'm sure it struck you, as a tactic move. Like, why? What Carlisle? That's come out of nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And honestly, if I was selling Manchester United and I was going for a third round of bids, I would want these names to come out as well, because it helps. Or does it? The Glazers, the intent of this, sorry. The intent of this is the Glazers trying to scare Sheikh Jassim and Jim Ratcliffe into increasing their offer. Ooh, we might stay on at the club. And then that's where this story ties into it. Mark Ogden. Now, Mark Ogden is, I think we've spoken about Mark previously, haven't we? I remember, I think it was him anyway. I'm pretty sure I remember that Mark Ogden was the journalist who broke the story that Fergie was retiring. I think so. I remember when I was running the website back in those days. I remember when the story first came out and my mind was blown. I'm pretty sure that was Mark Ogden who came out with that story. So back in the day, he certainly had sources at the club, and maybe those sources are still there. But the first thing to take into account with this is only coming from ESPN, and this is only coming from Mark Ogden. Something that I tend to do when it comes to following the news and following who it's all a case of interpreting the news, really, who you trust and who you believe. But when it's one person saying it and no one else, it just makes you go, well, either they got a very good source that no one else has, or there's something different going on here. Now, I'm going to read through the article with you before we then take a look at how the market has reacted, what's being sent by Bloomberg and Sky News Business. And I want to take a look into the actual ownership of the club, looking into the numbers of the shares, because I think there's an interesting conversation to be had around those. Right, let's go down here and let's read this. Joel and Avram Glazer are increasingly confident of securing the outside investment that would enable them to remain as Manchester United owners and potentially double the value of the club over the next decade. Good luck. I mean, not good luck. They probably could or would if the investment was there, but they've not risen the value. Man United went on the New York Stock Exchange in 2012. 10 years later, the value of Manchester United is exactly the same. Over the next decade, they have added zero value. Over the last decade, zero value to Manchester United. Fuckers, man. We don't need to read that part there. It's just a little bit of inside information, blah, 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 blah. It's this bit down here, which is the interesting part. While United supporters who have been opposed to the Glazers since their leverage takeover 18 years ago have made it clear through fan groups that they want the Glazers to sell all of their shares, a source familiar with the situation has told ESPN that Joel and Avram favour new investment that will enable them to remain in charge at Old Trafford, with siblings and fellow directors Kevin, Brian and Edward Glazer and Darcy offloading their stakes in the club. And that's caused this, right? This is the share price of Manchester United over the last month. And you can see the high that it hit over here. I believe that was when the second round of bids went in. I think that was about 3-ish weeks ago, roughly. You can pretty much follow the story of the sale of Manchester United in the price here. Because if we were to open that to 6 months, you can see here flatlining. All of a sudden, they released a statement in November saying they're considering selling. Woof! Look at the rise there. And if we were to spread that out over a year, or even spread that out over 5 years, man, is that how much it was back then? No, it went up there. Anyway, you can see full well what's happened here, and the dip that's come off the back of this. The market has reacted very negatively. And it should come as absolutely no surprise to anybody. Let's see what Sky News and how Sky News have been reporting this. The value of Manchester United fell following a report that they would remain owners of the club. Company stock price fell 13% after ESPN said owners are confident they will secure investment to enable them to retain ownership. The source cited in the article that the pair favour new investment that would allow them to remain at the helm, but with siblings and fellow directors selling their holdings. And they expect the investment would enable them to double their value of the club. This is where... Remember, by the way, I was going to pull this up a little bit later, but I'll pull it up now. This is not the first time that this has even happened during this takeover story. This happened over, where is it? 2nd of March. Over the weekend, I believe, where we won the League Cup. Similar stories came out at that point, and a similar thing happened where Manchester United's share price absolutely crashed. So this is the second time that this has happened. Now, I want to know what you think about all of this down here in the comments. I'm going to go down and read a few of them down here. Julie is saying it shows the market aren't confident in the Glazers. Julie, the thing I find hilarious, no, I don't find it funny. I don't think the Glazers, genuinely, I don't think they realise that they are the problem. I don't think they realised that the reason that the market reacted so excitedly when they said they were going to sell was because they were going to sell, because they were going to leave the club. And then as soon as stories came out that they might stay on at the club, the market retreated. And it's happened on more than one occasion. And as you're saying that, why do they do seem completely oblivious? But let's be totally honest. If there's one thing that we know the Glazers have, it's thick skin, which makes this all the more dangerous, really. They bought the club amid protests. They didn't care. 2010, they didn't care. It was, I mean, that statement from Joel after the European Super League collapsed, I think was the first time that he had addressed Manchester United fans directly in like way over a decade. Like, they have got thick skin. They do not care at all about public opinion because they can just ignore it. If all the chaos is in Manchester, that's right. Just I'll go back to Tampa Bay and pretend it never happened. That's why they've been able to run the club how they've run the club, because they've been able to ignore the locality of it. They can just go, well, never mind. Doesn't matter. Just go over here. Pretend it doesn't exist. Super chat there from Jordan saying that the fall should scare them, but I doubt it. I mean, I think it should scare them, really. The reality is that if Manchester United go through the full sale, this dip means absolutely nothing, because it will fly back up. But the idea that and this is where I think that we need to have an interesting conversation around the actual structure of Manchester United and the actual ownership shares. Jonathan with a pretty good point down there saying that it's ridiculous that one journalist with a story can affect the market so much. And I think that's a pretty fair point, really. Some might call it market manipulation, but then you're getting into all conspiracy theories and everything all around that, which I don't want to get into. But it is mad, isn't it? Like, you're looking at the value of Manchester United according to the stock. It doesn't mean that Manchester United is 15% less valuable now. I mean, technically, if you were to go and buy a share now, you bought the share 2 days ago, you've lost 15%. Yes, sure. But it doesn't mean that Manchester United are going to sell for any less right now. This is the part that I find interesting, right? Because let's just entertain the idea, right? I don't want to entertain the idea, but let's just talk about the idea, right? We go down here and we read this. Let's go a little bit full screen on that again. A source familiar with the situation has told ESPN that brothers Joel and Avram favor new investment that will enable them to remain in charge, with siblings and fellow directors Kevin Bryan and Edward and Darcy Glazer offloading their stakes in the club. Let's just think about this, right? And let's just talk about this. These are the latest. This is the latest filing to the Security Commission, which I believe is part of the rule set of the New York Stock Exchange, right? Any filings to do with shares has to go through the SEC. Bit boring, bit fiddly. Anyway, you can look at the ownership structure here, right? Avram Glazer, 15% of Manchester United shares. Joel, 20. You can go down and look at the numbers yourself. I don't need to read them all out. Think about the idea here, right? So you're Joel and Avram Glazer, okay? Minority takeover. That means that you're probably going to be... They've already tried this before, remember? Last summer, they went to Apollo Investment to try and buy Kevin, Bryan, Darcy, and Edward Glazer out. They tried to secure investment to buy out their siblings, right? And they failed. Are they trying to do that again now? Because if they're trying to do that again now, this is where I'm sort of left scratching my head. Say the Glazers find somebody to buy out Kevin, Bryan, Darcy, and Edward Glazer, right? Say they find someone to buy those out. What does that mean? It doesn't really change the investment at Manchester United, because all they've then done is bought out Kevin, Bryan, Darcy, and Edward and replaced them with one person. whoever that investor would be, you would still need the 1.5, 2 billion investment for the infrastructure. Because it's not as if Kevin, Brian, Darcy, and Edward are going to go, oh, there you go, we've sold off all our shares in Manchester United. Here you go, Joel and Avram. Here's all our money. Go and spend it on that. No, because they've never spent a penny in their entire life. So like, I don't really understand. As I said, it's a bit of a head scratcher for me. Even the idea of this minority investment. So basically, what the concept of it is, they need to find somebody, Kevin, right that, exactly there. They need to find somebody to not only buy out all of their siblings, but to then put the investment on top of that. And after all of that, not have any actual voting power at Manchester United, because Class B shares can't be sold. It's part of the ruling. So they would have to get converted to Class A shares before they were sold. And as you can see up there, look, Aerial Investments owning 11 million shares. They actually don't own 11 million shares now. They sold off some of those in, look, January. They sold off nearly 3 million of their shares. So their ownership is actually down to about 7.9, right? It doesn't make any. This is my point, and this is why I find a bit weird and a bit odd about this article here from Mark Ogden, because as a responsible journalist, cool. If that's the story you're being fed and told, fine, but it doesn't really match up, because effectively the idea that the Glazers here, they need, I don't know, let's call it like 3.5 billion to buy out the other siblings, and they then need 2 billion roughly, probably more than that, on top for a continued future investment in the women's team, the academy team, the new stadium, the new training ground, all of that. So they're going to find somebody who's going to give them £5 billion, dollars, whatever. Dollars, I think. And not have any voting power at the club. just think about it. Hiya, yeah, I know you're a billionaire. Can I have 5 of your billions? Huh? You're not going to get anything. Come on. You trust me. You can trust me. I guarantee you, in 10 years' time, I'm going to give you back 10 billion. It's like a timeshare. It's very strange. I'm going to go down there and read a few of your comments. Oh, Matt, nice to see you there, dude. Thank you very much for joining as a member. Charlie, you're saying it doesn't make sense for somebody. Sorry, comments are moving around. Why are the comments? It's because there's so many comments that always fly in. I always lose my comment. Where are you? No, completely lost the comment. Great, it's just completely disappeared. I think that's what I'm going to do in my lunchtime video on today. All right. I know that United fans are going to be scared about this idea, and the markets have been scared. The market has reacted badly. The market has tanked. My point is that when you look into the numbers and you look into the concept of minority takeover, and you look into the actual ownership structure, who has their hands on those shares? And then you think, right, if you look at Lindsell Train Limited, that's another publicly, they've bought it on the public market, the New York Stock Exchange. They've actually increased their ownership in February. They bought another, what, 1.5% of shares. What's that? 200, I don't know, just under 200,000 more shares that they bought. But they're voting, right? Look at that. They own over 20% of all the shares on the New York Stock Exchange, and they've got less than 1% of voting power, because that's what the ownership structure is at Manchester United. It's a 10-1 favor of Class B to Class A. So for every one Class A share, sorry, for every one Class B share, it's worth, from a voting perspective, it's worth 10 Class A shares. So you'd need to times that by 10. Somebody would have to own 166 million. There isn't even 166 million. That's the point. the way that the Glazers have, the ownership structure with the voting rights, they retain all the power. And just the idea of they're going to find somebody to buy out their siblings. And remember, by the way, at the same time as that, I think, Jonathan, you just mentioned it a little bit earlier, there's no guarantee that they're going to put any of this money into the club. They're not wrong they're not wrong in the concept of this, right? I don't think, anyway. As much as I can laugh at it, I don't think that they're actually wrong in the idea that the value of Manchester United could be doubled over the next decade. I don't think that's as far-fetched as it reads on paper. But for that to happen, the level of investment would be substantial. So, like, yeah, the value of Manchester United could, in theory, probably go from 5 billion to 10 billion over the next decade. But for that to happen, you're going to have to spend somewhere in the region of like 3.5 billion. It's not just going to randomly go, boop, all of a sudden, great. So the value can double, but you have to spend money to make money, sort of thing. And the Glazers have never spent a penny of their own money. And this is where the disconnect is. This is where the logic disappears. And this is why I'd like to sort of allay the fears. And look, again, I might be completely wrong, but it doesn't feel like the Glazers can if the Glazers could have realistically found that minority investment, do you ever think that we would have got that statement that got released? That they were looking for strategic alternatives? Hell to the no. The only reason that statement came out is because they exhausted all options behind the scenes. They tried to buy out their siblings and they couldn't do it. And they realized that the only thing they could do was go public. And they're still trying to play the game. But now you're public, now you're open, you can't do it anymore. Not in the same way. You can't get away with it. And this is the thing. I'm going to go down here and read a few of your comments out. Let me go over here and say, hey, yeah, there he is. It's Santa Sigmund. One of the OGs. How you doing, Sigmund, man? Nice to see you. Woo-hee. Get the Kong out. I just saw a comment there. I don't know who the name was. It was quite funny. Stop doing these giveaways. How dare you do these giveaways? That's quite funny. That really is quite funny. Oh, look, 327. We only need another 70 likes and we can get this giveaway announced. So drop a like if you haven't already. And trust me, you want this one. It's going to be a good giveaway. I'm going to go and read a few of your comments out down here. I think this should be a sort of an interesting chat for 5 minutes. See you down here. Noel, you're saying, of course, none of the money used to buy out the siblings will go into the club. It will go into the siblings' bank accounts. Of course it would. So again, that's part of my confusion as to what this concept of minority investment would be. Because that is a minority investment. If somebody comes in and pays 3 billion to buy out the other 4 Glazers, you've just replaced the 4 Glazers with one person, whoever that investment firm is. They haven't invested anything at that point. They've just taken the seat. So Man United would be in exactly the same position. You then need investment on top of that. And then those two combined, you're getting towards the actual value of a full sale anyway. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. That's why I think so anyway. And of course, this is what I want to be true, right? And that I have to take into account as well. Richard is saying, why would the siblings sell if they are told that it will double value in a few years? Richard, because it's as I said, for it to double, and I genuinely think it probably could double. I think the concept of it is not unrealistic. However, for the value of Manchester United to double in the next 10 years, you're going to have to spend billions. Because the increased value of Manchester United, it's quite easy to see where it is. We've been absolutely garbage for 10 years. We haven't won the league since 2012. Yet still, our revenues are matching City's, there or thereabouts. Yet still, we're worth 5 billion. What could happen in the next 10 years if Man United win a few titles? If Man United win the Champions League? if Man United have a new stadium, if Man United have a new Carrington, a new training ground, it's obvious to see where the growth could be, but that costs money. The sort of money that the Glazers do not have. And this is where the crossroads is. This is where the logic dictates that this minority investment, they might want it. They might seriously want that minority investment. But it just doesn't match up for me. It doesn't match up. Right. We got 391. That'll do. This is a cool one, actually. Let me get this one here. You ready for this? 3, 2, 1. Yes. So you remember for the League Cup final, Newcastle against United, we won 2-0 at Wembley. We play against Brighton on Sunday, and Club Wembley have reached out to me again. So I've got 2 more tickets. I've got a pair of tickets to give away to the game on Sunday, FA Cup semi-final. How good's that? This one's going to be a really quick turnaround. This one. Let me get the link down here. Very, very easy for you to enter. It's completely free. All right, completely free, and that down there is the link. All you got to do is go on there. If you go onto the link tree, at the very top of the link tree, there'll be a form. Just fill in your name, your email, answer a question, and that's it. All right, that's it. It's only going to be open to UK residents this time because it's a very, very tight turnaround. It's the competition being announced on Tuesday, and going to be announcing the winner on Friday morning during the show. These sorts of prizes, it's wicked. I'm so happy that I can keep bringing these prizes to you as a community. So yeah, good luck to everybody. I'm going to leave this on there, right, for the next couple of days. So good luck to everybody who wants to enter, and I think you'll enjoy it. Team with the UK agenda. Hey, look, you need a whole day to fly over from Australia, and a whole day to fly back. Brian saying, can people in Ireland enter? Yes, they can, of course, but you have to be able to prove to me that you've got the flights booked before I'll give you the prize. That's part of it. All right. What are we saying over here? What are we saying over here? What else? What? Where do you all stand on this then? Do you think that? Are you genuinely scared? I don't know. Type yes or no. Just do you genuinely fear that the Glazers might stay on? Do you genuinely think there is a chance that they find this minority, this I don't know, this hypothetical minority investment and stay on at the club? I'm genuinely really interested to know all of your opinions and standpoints on this. I personally feel that this is the Glazers' latest. I wouldn't use the word. I suppose it technically is PR, but they've put it to the 3rd round of bids, and all of this is breaking within, what is it, 4 days, 5 days? Very, very coincidental, or all part of the game. Let me see what you're thinking down here. Sigmund, you're saying you've entered, your dad's over. Well, good luck to you, my friend. I hope you win it. I hope anybody will. I hope somebody from the community wins it, and somebody will. That's what it's all about. Tyler, you're saying that it's just another tactic from the Glazers to up the price. Dan, you're saying that you're scared. Ross, you're saying, I fear that they are genuinely that stupid. They would bluff and balls up the sale by mistake. And that's something that you got to think of as well. It's a kind of fair point from Ross there. Like, if you're Sheikh Jassim, you're Jim Ratcliffe, and you're sitting there looking at this, you're like, what are these jokers doing? What are these jokers doing? Honestly, and this is where I would say the danger lies. I don't think the danger, in just my personal take, I don't really think the danger lies in the Glazers actually finding that minority investment. I think the danger more lies in the fact that they are going to piss off Sheikh Jassim or Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos so much that they withdraw their bids, and that the potential buyers walk away from it because they can't be asked anymore. So, look, we've been through 2 rounds, gone to a 3rd round. Let's find out that we've got, what is it, 10 days until this deadline that we've been given, the 28th of April. That's apparently the deadline for these third round bids. Well, let's find out what happens. Let's find out how much they are, who comes forward, X, Y, Z. But I think there's more danger of pissing off the actual potential buyers than there is of actually finding minority investment, because it wouldn't exactly be minority investment. The scale of it would be majority. they effectively want, because if you think about it, to actually buy out, I can't do the numbers live on stream here together because it'll be too much. But if you put together all the shares there and you figure out how much they would be worth and you bought them out and then you add 2 billion on top of it for investment, you're probably going to be looking at around about the same sort of value as probably one of the full takeover offers from Sheikh Jassim or Jim Ratcliffe. And the Glazers want that, whilst at the same time retaining ownership and voting powers at Manchester United. It's like it makes you go, what? As if you are going to find that. Honestly, it's mind-boggling. And I'm doing it with a bit of a smile on my face because there's no logic to it. It's like as if you're actually asking that, but they are. And they have been. Fred, you're saying, is this farce embarrassing the club? I don't think this reflects on Manchester United as an actual football club. No. I think this reflects purely on the owners of our football club. Once they have left, I don't think that this is something that has a lingering impact. Well, of course, it will have a lingering impact on Manchester United and their ownership. But no, I don't think it will actually reflect past that point. Jonathan with a really good point down there saying, look, the minority stake would be more than the cost of buying Chelsea. It's what Jonathan, Scott, down there. That's what it feels like, man. It really, really feels like it. And that is why this is so important, right? I was there for the Liverpool protest and it was absolutely incredible. So I think it was around about 10. It was about 10,000 of us marching down St. Busby Way. It was, to be part of that felt quite special. And I think this protest that's going to go on the 30th, that's when we play Aston Villa, if I'm correct. Let me make sure of that. I'm pretty sure it's Villa at Old Trafford. Yep, Sunday the 30th of April at Old Trafford. The 58 are helping to organise the next protest. That's going to be at Old Trafford on the 30th of April. Now, I'm hopefully going to go there to that one as well. I don't want to miss that. Josh, you're asking Sam, when is the closing date for the competition? For some, will be hard for some people to get to Wembley on short notice. I know. That's why it's a quick turnaround, this one. That's why it's only open to those in the UK to enable that quick turnaround. The competition will close on Thursday. And Thursday, let's call it, I don't know what time on Thursday. Thursday evening. And then we'll be announcing the winner on Friday morning during the live show. I know it's a quick turnaround, and it is. If I had a little bit more time, I would have, but they only reached out to me last week, so there's nothing else I can do. Jonathan, you're saying this next protest will be even bigger. Yeah, I know. The 58 are actually... So I've been speaking... I've been in constant contact with the 1958 behind the scenes for a long time. I don't need to say what I've been discussing with them, but I've been helping them where I can be helping them, and vice versa. And I think the 1958 have done what they have managed to do. The anonymity has really helped the 58, and they've always maintained that as a big part of it. But the consistency of the protests last season was really important. And I think that's what sort of changed it. Because prior to that, whenever there was a protest, it was a big protest at Old Trafford. We were capable of doing that as a football club and a fan base, but it was once in a while. And last season, it ended up being a protest pretty much at every home game. And that made a big, big difference. And as I said, that protest before Liverpool, I wonder if I've got the video on here. I think I do, actually. Did that one there? I think it's out. I've got the video. I'm going to play it at the end, actually, because I love those videos. For me, are the videos I'm most proud of. on United People's TV. So I'm intending to go to this protest as well. And if you can, I encourage you to go to it as well. All right, on the 30th of April, before the game against Villa. Max, man, how you doing, dude? Max, who's been helping out with the website. I've been a little bit slack on that. I apologize to everyone who's been helping on the website. Alex and Max. Ah! Drop the gong. I apologize. I've been a little bit slow on that. I'm going to try and speed up. It's just been juggling quite a few things. Blakey, you're saying, I wish we could protest in America too. Yeah, it would be. It would be wicked if we could do anything down in Tampa Bay. It'd be a real shame if United fans turned up there. Suddenly, quick, couple more things I want to speak about before I play that video. I want to watch that video myself. Confirmation yesterday that Lisandro Martinez had his operation. It went really well, and now he's in recovery mode. So, wishing the absolute best for my main man. Martinez out for the season. Still grim. But the good thing is that it wasn't an Achilles rupture, because that sort of injury can genuinely change the career path for a player. A broken metatarsal, a fractured metatarsal. Same injury that I think David Beckham had at one point. Same injury that Wayne Rooney had before the World Cup, I think. Remember that? Martinez will miss the rest of the season, but he should be fine for next season. He'll see you in August. All right, Licha. See you in August, my man. But yeah, that would have been if that had been like the rupture. Oh man, that would have been so grim. Stu, man, how you doing? My big dogs all coming through. Stu and Max. Jeez. Did anybody see that video yesterday? The AI tune that of Drake and The Weeknd. Absolutely blew my mind. If you haven't, Google it. It's mad. So I want to have a quick conversation here about this, right? This story broke yesterday. Mike Vavage. Do you remember when we were covering the whole Ten Hag story on here on the channel, and with Martinez, and with Timber, and with who else did we sign from there? Van der Beek. Anyway, signed the whole team basically. But Anthony, forgot about him. Anyway, Mike Vavage writes for The Telegraph, considered one of the most reliable journalists out in Holland. He's saying here that Gravenberch and Gravenberch's representatives met Liverpool last week in Amsterdam. Now, Gravenberch was the player that Erik ten Hag brought through the Ajax academy after Frenkie de Jong left, and he became the newer version of the Frenkie de Jong. It wasn't exactly a like-for-like replacement, but in terms of that progressive midfielder coming out from the back, Gravenberch was that guy. Now, he moved to Bayern Munich last summer. And I get the feeling that if he hadn't already sort of agreed that pre-agreement with Bayern Munich, that there is a chance that he could have followed Ten Hag to United. He's not played much at Bayern Munich at all, right? And if you look at what Bayern Munich have already got planned, Konrad Laimer is going to be joining them on a free transfer. That was I don't know why this has taken so long. Look, the deal was completed last January. I don't know why it's taken that long. Maybe they were just waiting for him to be a free. But Konrad Laimer is going from Leipzig to Bayern Munich in the summer. So they've already got an extra midfielder. And remember that Gravenberch is hardly playing at all. Who else have they got? Kimmich. I don't know who else is in their midfield. Goretzka, I think, too. They've got some midfielders. And of course, Sabitzer. He could be joining too. I'd be very, very surprised if Erik ten Hag didn't want Manchester United to go and meet his representatives, to go and have a conversation around Gravenberch, because he's exactly the sort of profile of player that Erik ten Hag wants. And I don't think, as much as I would love Bellingham, of course, I mean, who wouldn't love Bellingham? If we're looking at the strengths in this team, it's probably in that area of the pitch. That player whose natural instinct is to be on the halfway line, to drive it towards the edge of the opposition's box. the position that Bruno plays in, the position where I think we've actually got a real bit of strength. Jonathan, you're saying Bayern have come out and said he isn't going anywhere. Yeah, I mean, you can believe that if you want to. He's not played it. He's hardly started. Has he been starting under Tuchel? Let me have a quick look. Grab. I know he wasn't starting under what's his face? Nagelsmann. Where have his appearances come? Second. Let's have a look. Oh wow. He's played a great jeez, look at this. There you go. You want to see how little this guy's been playing. Let's pull this up. He got a grand total of 10 minutes at the weekend. Oh, look at that. The week before, he got a grand total of 13 minutes. Wow, look at that. He hasn't played, he hasn't even played, he's played 45 minutes twice against Köln and Borussia Mönchengladbach. He has not played at all. And as I said, if he's going to be leaving, that's Conrad Lehmer, wrong one. If he's going to be leaving, I'll be very surprised if Manchester United don't register an interest. Of course, there's going to be, and Alexis McAllister is a kind of different style of player, more in the Bellingham mold. In the idea that he's better receiving the ball and driving towards the opposition's box rather than receiving it from his own defenders first. But midfielders are definitely going to be where United are really active. Midfielders and a striker. Okay? We don't actually know the exact profile of the midfielder because some of us would say, the main one we need is a deep progressive playmaker. And I think that's what the majority of us would say. But we're seeing separate reports saying that Ten Hag would actually want more of a number 8, more of like another Bruno Fernandes. And I don't really know how that would work. And I don't know whether that would be, I don't know. I like McAllister. I think McAllister's a cracking signing. If I type it in the comments here, if you could choose one, who would you choose? McAllister or Caicedo? Both absolutely. Mate, this game against Brighton on Sunday, by the way, which you can win tickets for, got a pair of tickets to give away. Big up to Club Wembley for helping bring these giveaways to United People's TV. It's wicked. But anyway, Brighton, Mitoma, McAllister, Caicedo, Evan Ferguson, who I think is going to be injured. I presume he's going to be injured. He went off injured against Chelsea. I don't know what the update on that is. But who would you prefer? If you could choose one of them, Caicedo or McAllister? Let's have a quick look down here. Someone's saying do a poll. I like reading out the comments sometimes. I like the switcheroos. A couple of you saying Caicedo. PS, you're saying McAllister. I would say the majority. I don't know. Quite a few of you are saying McAllister. Caicedo. Caicedo's going to be elite. I would say the majority of you are saying Caicedo, but quite a few of you are saying McAllister as well. So it's not a clean sweep. It's not a clean sweep. That's an interesting one. Maybe we're going to have to do a video on that. My instinct would definitely be to say Caicedo, kind of without thinking. And maybe if I looked into the players and the profiles of them, I maybe would say, that would be slightly different. But Caicedo, it would be peak Man United, wouldn't it? If we signed Caicedo for... Remember that Arsenal got a bid, what was it, about 70 odd million for Caicedo turned down, I think, during January. So Caicedo is going to go for what? 80, 85, probably. And we could have signed him for what? 5 million? Is he Ecuadorian? I think he's Ecuadorian. Before he came to Brighton in the first place. But we messed it up. We're very, very good at that, aren't we? What else are you saying down there? Why not both, says Martin. I think realistically, we are not going to be spending that much money. We need to sell well in order for Manchester United to even sign a midfielder like Caicedo and a striker, let alone a potential right-back alternative, let alone an extra midfielder. It's mad. It's mad. But that is pure United. That is pure United. And Al, you're saying, yeah, they turned down 70 mil. That's exactly what I was saying there. We just need to hire Brighton's scouting department, basically. That's what we need to do. But look, going back to the main story for today, before we wrap this up, and it's, the story from ESPN and Mark Ogden. I'm going to do a lunchtime video on this to really condense it into 10 minutes, because for me, this strikes me as nothing more than a scare tactic. Because when you take a look and you put your hat and you go, you know what, right? Let's actually entertain the idea of a minority takeover. And you look at the numbers. The numbers, I mean, it might be said as a minority, but it would actually end up being pretty much evens to a majority, because you have to buy out the Glazers and then invest on top. So the numbers would be similar. Doesn't make any sense. And this is so important from now. And this is why that shirt will always be there until they leave. That's why, look, you've got another one there. You got another little cheeky one in the corner there, the scarf. I hate the Glazers. At my core, I do. And so do you. They are the problem at this football club. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play one of the... if you want to leave, you can leave. Oh, please don't know. Stick around and watch this, because I love watching these. And I can't wait for the next protest. Thank you all for everything today. Make sure, if you want to win 2 tickets to see United against Brighton at Wembley on Sunday, the link's right there. If you click that through, it'll go to the link tree. And at the top of the link tree is the link to the competition form. Fill it out. All you got to do is put your first name in, your second name, answer a couple of questions, tick a couple of boxes, and that's it. And you might win it. I'll be here tomorrow morning, as I always am. Take it easy.
They took 24 million quid out of the club about 2 months ago. We've got now a decrepit, rotting stadium that is, to be fair, second rate when it was the best stadium in the world 15, 20 years ago. You've got a football project where they haven't got a clue. You've put bankers in charge of the football club, not making football decisions. They've not appointed a sporting director, right? We can look at the players all you like, but there are that many big things that need to be put right first. They've got to show up and basically face the music. Now's the time.
British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy a stake in Manchester United with a view to taking full control if the club is for sale. One source has told us he's serious about owning the club and former players would be involved in any potential offer. The development follows reports that the Glazer family are considering selling a minority stake in the club. United have declined to comment about rumours and speculation. Ratcliffe is a United fan, has invested in several sports teams in recent years. According to Forbes, overnight is worth £10.8 billion.
You can't get away from the ownership issue, and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. Under the current owners, this is what United is going to be like.
The only money that has been spent on players at Manchester United is the money the club has generated or that it's borrowed.
We have seen many anti-Glazer protests at Old Trafford down the years, and this was one of the biggest. Tens of thousands of United supporters pouring down Sir Matt Busby Way. This protest organised by the 1958, one of the Manchester United supporters groups. They wanted it to be a peaceful protest and a legal one too, and that's what they got. It was full of passion and anger towards the Glazer family. They are still so upset with them for landing this club in hundreds of millions of pounds of debt. The interest on that debt comes to about £19 million a year in interest payments. There's so much more that the fans are unhappy with the Glazer ownership, the way they structured the club, putting perceived bankers in charge of football decisions. They also tried to lead them into a European Super League, and of course this is the only club in the Premier League which pays its owners dividends.
Because the way they bought the club and the way they loaded debt onto the club and the way the club has to pay those debts off means that United are going to fall further and further behind very well-run clubs where you've got owners who put money in, not owners who take money out.
An apology, perhaps. Are the fans just customers to you, Mr. Glazer?
Manchester United need £1 billion in this next 2-3 years to either rebuild or renovate that stadium. They probably need another £500-600 million for training ground and other infrastructure projects and football investment. They've only got £40-50 million cash left in the bank. They were cash rich 3 years ago. They had £350 million in the bank. They've no longer got that money in the bank. Something is going to have to give soon, very, very soon.
Well, with the protests over for now, all eyes turn on those potential takeover talks. Last week, Manchester United fan and very businessman Sir Jim Ratcliffe confirmed that he would be interested in buying Manchester United if it were ever put up for sale. The fans that have been here tonight will be hoping that he sticks to his word and forces the Glazers into leaving their club.
And he's always said that he was potentially interested in buying United if they were put up for sale. And that has now been confirmed. He said that, look, this is not about money as far as Sir Jim is concerned. It just feels like the time is right for a reset at Manchester United.